What's up, friends? This is Jazz, bringing you kind of a random video, but not. I sort of apologize for the lack of, for better or for worse, in card openings this week. I'm just eventually trying to refill my stock in them, and I just have been having an on and off week. But this video is going to be the adventures in doggy sitting, or, adventures with my pets, maybe. I've babysat or listened out for my dog Leah and our honorary dog Lucky several times. One I did it full time for 5 or 6 hours. One I really wasn't even being dependent on because of how my stomach was. But anyway, Lucky is a Russell Terrier Beagle Chihuahua mix, I believe. And you'll see a picture, the best picture I can get of him there. I don't know, maybe I'll do some drawings. I don't know about the drawings part. I'm terrible at animation. But he is full of energy. Now, Leah is a lab, a yellow lab, and a duck-tailed retriever mix. But she looks lab. That's her dominant trait features, is a lab. Now, Lucky is like 7 or 8 months old now. Leah is going to be 7 in May. Or was it March? Maybe May, I think so. She'll be 7, so she's a senior compared to him. And one thing with Leah, she's almost never really socialized with other animals, besides my cat, Winnie, which I guess I'll insert a picture somewhere of her there too. But even then, it wasn't really full socializing with her. But when she actually came around, Leah would try to, pull her in, or, whack at her, and sometimes Winnie would lay underneath Leah's chest. So, not full-on playing, interacting, but, just kind of they learned to tolerate each other and sleep on the same bed, so they're just, in their own groove with each other. About 5 or so months ago, not getting into details of the relationship, but a friend of my aunt's brought down Lucky, because he was spending some time with my aunt and uncle, and he brought his dog quite a few places with him. And he was mostly only there for that night at that time, but I spent some time with him and I know he's someone else's dog. I'm at this point where I can accept that. I can fully accept that. But I was snuggling him, and it was just cute. But he wouldn't leave Leah alone. Even his owner said that. At first he didn't know whether to stop Leah or not, or, Lucky or not. And same with my Uncle Dave. He was more scolding Leah. And at a point where my Aunt Kathy and her friend were all like to David, leave her be, right? She's trying to show him the ropes, right? And she was actually being surprisingly gentle from what my Aunt Kathy expected her to be. And suddenly, he started coming down a lot more frequently after the holidays. It was just before Christmas when I first saw him, and Kathy ended up puppy sitting a lot, sometimes for nights at a time, more than one night at a time. So, he just says that he is just full of energy and just doesn't like to leave Leah alone. If he has an audience, or if me or Kathy are there, he will not leave Leah alone. But if we're starting to learn, and I'm still learning this too, because I can either not care or be too hyper focused on it. So one of the stories I'm going to tell you, we'll just put it this way ahead of time. It was my own fault in a way. But we're starting to learn that if we could trust both Lucky and Leah on their own, if we give them the half hour to an hour, after that they'll usually calm down and go to a separate area. Leah supplies goes on the chair we have, and Lucky goes on one of the other. We have 2 couches. The one couch he's allowed, and they'll separate and be good. Right now, when he was very little, we could not leave him alone at all. Right? We could not trust him, with Leah. Leah's for the, heaven's sake, has been a saint. Right? She has been very patient with Lucky. But we're starting to learn that Leah has her limits. She does, and she didn't hurt him. Thank God. We're starting to learn to cut it before it gets to that point. We're learning signs like her nose will kind of, go into a more of a cross look. She's going to get cross with the dog. So then we take it seriously. We let them play it out a little bit, but we're trying to show Leah we will come to her aid when she really needs it. Right? We don't want... The dog is energetic and brave as he is a small dog. Even big dogs can be in danger of dogs their own size. So we're not pushing it that far. But anyway, how does Leah, sometimes you might wonder if Leah likes him or not. She's a little bit better than tolerant now. Okay, not tolerant. She will get mad, but she doesn't just, oh, he's here, She does kind of like him in a way, too. There was one time my aunt told me the story. I wasn't there witnessing it, so this is my Aunt Kathy's story. Kathy was on her phone playing, was it Candy Crush or she's addicted to, that's her video game. It's the Candy Crush or the Candy, the saga. And she heard some noise, kind of like a gagging, or I don't know what it was, but she thought maybe that they were playing around. Suddenly, Leah came to her, came right up to the table we have, started just barking. Kathy, and then she wouldn't stop. And Leah was right there just looking right at her as if trying to tell her something. She came out, Lucky was choking. She got to him just in time. If it wasn't for Lucky, who knows what would have happened? Or Lucky. If it wasn't for Leah, who knows what would have happened? And I said to her, Kathy, did you thank Leah? She's like, no. And I'm like, what? I actually said before, I'm telling you, I'm doing it one thing. Whack. I said, what are you, crazy? We could have gotten it a lot. No, he's in good hands, guys. He is in good hands. We take very good care of him. That was just one situation where she thought it was just Leah and him roughhousing. But I'm just saying this story to show not only does Leah care about Lucky enough to go and get Kathy to go and tend to Lucky, but she was smart enough too. My gosh, I know Leah isn't dumb. She is a smart doggo, as the Man64 would say. But she just do it to that extreme. Of course she didn't jump into a burning building, but that's over dramatized, honestly. I couldn't believe that she did that and saved Lucky. Literally. Another situation with the same boat, only he wasn't in full danger at this point, but he could have been in danger, is that they were out on our front porch. Suddenly, Kathy was in the living room, so not far away. Lucky is a small dog, a very small dog, as you maybe saw in this picture. He squeezed his way through the fence, the small areas of the fence, and then Leah started barking again. Kathy eventually went to check and saw Lucky was out. She looks out for him. She really looks out for him, even if she does not like him at a good chunk of the time when he's getting on her nerves. She does care for him in a small semblance of way. Because if she didn't care about him, she probably wouldn't have cared if she choked. Okay, I know that sounds very morbid. In some ways, I understand it is. But maybe she knew he was important somehow to us, too. But she cared enough, whether it was for us or for Lucky, to get Kathy's attention. Right? Because, again, who knows what would have happened. Well, one of the other, I know it said it would be a stories, but it is sort of talking about them in a way. You know, how they've been a big part of my life in a way too. Like one time, my aunt had to go to work, and she said to me, Haley, this was before she trusted Lucky enough, said, I need you down here 5.5, 6 hours. I was down there with my computer, editing some videos, which again, I guess was kind of nice, because I don't think of editing much myself, and I was just trying to keep the peace. Lucky had his leash and a little collar, or was it, I don't know what it was, but I was sitting there. They got along so well. They were so good to me that day. Though at that time I was a little paranoid to ruin the peace, so I kept him mostly on the couch, and he just fell asleep. One time I seen him fully exposed or submitted. Like he was on his back, and literally he was having such a good sleep. That's one thing, he feels safe with us to this point, where he will submit quite regularly between Kathy and I. And he likes David okay too. Like he likes him alright, but he's a little more stern, like not like physically, but he'll go, no, do over. You know, he doesn't tell if he knows if he's not allowed to do something and Dave's doing something at Dave's site, he won't get away with it, right? And neither will he really with us, but Dave's a little more like, he does care for the dogs, and he'll be surprised caught patting Leah, right? But he's like one of those things that he is never abusive in any way, but he is stern, kind of the right amount of energy, you know, like he doesn't let it go down, right? If there's something he wants the dogs to do or not to do, he lets them know, and that kind of wish I had that energy like he did. I mean, I think it would be him, Kathy, and then me when it came to a 40, like with being able to hold a 40, because I'm trying, right? But I just don't have that confidence energy. You know how dogs can sense a human's energy and can take advantage of that? Well, they might as well have it. I might as well be wearing a shirt that says, sucker, any dog who wants to be ahead of the pack, go to her. Like honestly, in the pack dynamic, I am definitely not ahead of the dogs. I hate to say this, but I know I should be, but they know me. They know how to work me. I mean, I can be authoritative at sometimes, and they can listen to me at some point, but at least 85% of the time, they know how to kind of handle me. So I kind of try to work the best way I can with them, which sometimes I learned is just to leave them be. I mean, of course, don't ignore them completely. Like, I have to listen out for a particular growl, you know, for not to let it go too far. But if they're just barking and that, like, not saying to go check on them if it's a certain bark, like, oh, they have to go out, but if they're just kind of playing with each other, just kind of leave them be. I've learned that at this point. I mean, in the last few days. But anyway, I got through the 6 hours at that time, and then there was one other time, well, my aunt didn't rely on me. I wasn't feeling good, and, you know, she just left them alone, and they were fine. And recently, this is where the funny stories come in. Maybe I should put a note before then. The funny stories come in at 13:45 or whatever. But we were at a point now where even my aunt said, you know what, listen, but don't just act like what you would do without them there. You know, because I was panicking and my stomach was upset, like IBS again. I know I talk about it a lot, but that, like, as much as I don't want to admit it, it's a big part of my life. And so I was just planning to go and have a nap, right? You know, like, wasn't originally planning to get too involved in it unless there was a big, like, bark that I couldn't deny. Suddenly, for some reason, like, I guess sometimes when my stomach is upset, my nerves are a lot more heightened, my anxiety about a lot of things, not just my stomach. So I went down. I was actually down a little bit before when my aunt left. And ever since then, for the first 2 hours, so much for going upstairs and ignoring it, because they kept driving me nuts. Like Leah, she had a bad night before. Like, she just maybe was missing Dave. He was out for the night. She was barking every few minutes even when we let her out. So maybe she had a little bit of that left over, because she was better than Lucky, but she was still awful compared to how she usually is. She would bark, bark, bark. Lucky would go after her. I would try. Oh, this is where one funny part of the story happens. I was trying to give Lucky some food, because sometimes he's a puppy, right? He eats a decent amount. And Leah swarmed and ate his food. And I'm like, I gave Lucky a little more. Leah went and ate his food while Lucky was trying to snap, at the food bowl. I gave Leah some food and Lucky some food. She still went for his bowl first. I tried to push her away, and then I'm like, you know what? Lucky was barely going at it. I'm like, fine. And I'm like, you know what? This is the Hunger Games. Anyone who knows what I mean, I know it's different. There's a totally different theme of the story. It's not like people going hungry. I know that. But I mean, it was just a funny, because they were kind of, they were fine. They weren't hurting each other. But they were kind of squabbling over the food, and I'm like, it's the Hunger Games. Finally, I got them both to calm down when it came to the food. I gave Leah more. I said, this is your bowl. This is the exact same food, only you have more of it. Lucky, I just put little bits in there for him. It's not like I feed him a whole bunch and Leah gets tempted. Maybe she likes this small bowl. I don't know. Sometimes I'm wondering if I should just switch them around. Here, Lucky, here, I have the big silver bowl. Here, Leah, here's yours. But see, you want that dish so much, that's what you're getting. Now, she doesn't starve. She gets her meals, definitely. But I don't know if I should have just switched it around. Another situation was, I was at a point of nearly tears because they were that bad, right? I would get up my stairs, wash my hands because I OCD, and I hear a real bad whine, bark, and I'm like, And then I was at a point where I'm like, you know what, just ignore it, Haley. Just try to ignore it. And I did for a little bit, and they quiet down, and then they just seemed so, I let them go at each other, him sit up there, and then I got one of those paranoid states where I'm like, it's too quiet. I bet you guys are about to go, oh my god, was he? Yes, he was alright, but when I came out of the room, Lucky had managed to get himself upstairs. Maybe it's because the gate wasn't across properly, but he was just up there in the hall, just prancing around wearing his little in-training. Yeah, he had a cute little in-training vest, which I don't have a picture of him in that. He was just kind of scampering around. I'm like, really? I mean, at least I'm like, thank God you're alive. But then I grabbed him, and I didn't want to do it, but he wasn't supposed to be upstairs, guys. So I brought him downstairs to see Leah in her kennel, alone. I was holding him to a certain point, put him down, ran my hands against the gate, kept Lucky back, locked Leah in. Guys, this may seem cruel, but she went in there herself. She loved it peace. She likes her kennel, in a way. The only problem is that Lucky would keep running in when she tried to go hide in there, so I couldn't fix things that way. And then when she was alone, I know I could have left it because Lucky was leaving her alone, but I said I was not risking it. I locked the kennel, typed a message to my aunt, she doesn't like Lucky in there more than a half hour. But Leah's allowed in there a lot longer. I said it was only 2.5 to 3 hours for Kathy would come home. It was almost 4.5 hours or something. I forget what it was. So I said the last 2.5 hours, if she's not whining, I'm leaving Leah in there. I let my aunt know that, for she wouldn't be surprised if Leah was still in when she got home. Left them alone. Oh my gosh, I got to go to sleep. I knew they were safe. They weren't going to get in any real danger with them separate. So I was allowed to sleep if they weren't, together. And I'm just calming my nerves and going to sleep. I let her out before my aunt got home, and they were fine for the last half hour to an hour. But my God, I needed that sleep. I know this sounds weird, well, you got 2 dogs, and, well, okay, yes, like, it's part-time dogs, and I know they're a lot of work. I'm not saying that, but 2 times in a row they were okay. But for some reason, that day, they just didn't want to leave me alone for the first 2 hours. Guys, my aunt is going to be happy to hear this, but I already told her, yeah, I know I will never want kids. I know that dogs aren't humans, and I know humans behave a lot differently, but their annoyance was probably on par with 2 young kids. I mean, that don't know how to articulate enough. I mean, I would never want small children, at least. Because I swear, like, when Lucky came up, he was like, hi, where were you? Like, kind of like when a kid or toddler follows their parent. Where were you? Another interesting scenario that I forgot to bring up about having kids with those 2. So there's a couch that the dogs are not allowed on. It's more new than the others, right? And twice Lucky jumped up there. He knew he's not allowed up there. He knows. He's always been pushed off and scolded. He knows better. Now, you know another reason how I know he knows better? The second time he did it, he was just kind of looking as if, so, what you gonna do? You know, yeah, I know I'm not allowed on there. And she was growling crossly. She started to playfully growl and like, oh, what you gonna do about it? Well, you know what I did about it? Got behind Leah, whacked him off. No, I didn't hit him. And that seems a little extreme like that. I pushed him off. He's fine. And said no. I don't know if he expected that from me. Like, he was just looking at me as to say, so, slave, what you gonna do about it? I swear, I mean, I know that is definitely overthinking things. But, you know, just the look he gave me, like, you just wouldn't believe it, as if he was a kid testing the waters. I mean, again, the good news for Kathy on this end, too, I don't think I'll ever want a permanent second dog. I mean, if there was some reason the owner couldn't keep Lucky, we did both agree that we would take him in. That is the only exception to the no more dogs rule. And he would be the only one we would do it for. Right, like, because we've grown to care about him enough that he's like family. Obviously, if he could stay where he is, the better for all of us. But he is the only exception to no second dog. Yeah, you think, well, him? Of all, if he's, yes, but we love him. Like, he can have his good moments. It's just, maybe sometimes it's like when he has Leah there, he just kind of can't help himself. Like, there was one time where Lucky, in the same day, finally settled down laying on the couch. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then Leah started to walk over to him. I'm like, no, Leah. Woof, whack, woof. And I'm like, yeah, that is definitely the expression I gave. Like, so it's just, Leah can have her bad moments too. She wasn't ready for him to stop, apparently. I'm like to myself, Leah, what is wrong with you? I thought he gets on your last nerve and want us to push him away from you. When he finally goes up by himself and leaves you alone, you go and start it? That's the thing. Like, my aunt thinks in a way she does have limits, but she really likes to play with him, because we notice that she actually does start to miss him now. Like, she's been lonely before, but she just has a different type of loneliness. Like, she likes having him to play with, and when he's not here, well, she's fine. We take care of her needs, and Kathy's downstairs most of the time, but we do let her have some time by herself, and it's just like, she's never, for almost 7 years of her life, did not have another dog to play with as frequently as she does with Lucky. And I think in a way she's getting used to it. Like in a sense, she knows she'll see him once a week. And maybe a little less when summer comes, but she kind of counts on it in a way. That's probably why we still do it, in a way. I mean, because it gives Lucky some, more attention, like a playful attention. And it's like a bonus member of the family, as I said. It's really, yes, we don't have him every single day like we do Leah, but he's been here enough to be kind of like, oh, well, I'm lucky, you know. I mean, he's exciting, yes, when he comes down, because we don't see him every day. But we're kind of used to him going like, oh, I'm lucky, like, you know, just, he's kind of in a sense like our dog, but not. Like, it's a weird way to say it. But I mean, they just, those two dynamic, Leah and Lucky's, are so unique in a way. Just to me, like, I've never seen it. I said to me, guys, it's probably a normal dog behaviors they have, but just like Leah and Winnie, my cat, they have their own unique bond, and I think so does Lucky and Leah. Actually, the owner of Lucky one day teased when he was talking to Kathy, when he was planning to let him come down to visit, like Kathy accepted him, right? He asked if she wanted to have him. He was like, you want to go see your are you going to go see your girlfriend? Wow. I was going to say a little bit odd for a word. I mean, they're 7 years apart. And a lot more in, you know, the human years. So yeah, it's kind of a creepy thought with their age difference. I mean, I know they're dogs, but still. Lucky would be not even 7 years old. Leah, in her 40s. Imagine if they were humans and someone teased like that. And that was their age that they were presented as a human. Yeah. I would hear the bar slam on Leah very, very quickly. I mean, it is sort of adorable in a way, but I mean, it's just, at the same time, like, I mean, the way we see it is they're like brother and sister. Or good playmates, in a way, like really good, well, not best friends, like we see them more as siblings to each other, in a way, than actual, you know, romantic, you know, dog ways of it. Well, with Leah's part anyway, Lucky's a little more creepy than that, but he hasn't been fixed yet, so that probably explains some of it. Yeah, not getting into any of the disgusting details. But I mean, yeah, I know this was a long, rambly video, but I just wanted to also give you something that was different that I never did for a while, and how these dogs in a sense changed my life. I mean, yeah, there's a little more going on. Lucky, I tease, is somewhat like my emotional support dog. In a way, we're not trading him as such, I mean, because he isn't our permanent dog, our full dog. But sometimes, if I'm not feeling good, like there was one time I got cramps, and I was sitting on the couch with Kathy and him. Suddenly, he walked over to me, just gave me a kiss, a lick on the cheek. It went away. Like, just when I had that pain, while I was having that pain. And there was another time when I was having pain, he went right on my lap. And he let me pet him. So, he has his good moments. Like, I think in a way, Lucky's helped me with a lot. So has Leah. But Lucky has helped me with a lot. Like, there was a year or two ago, I would not let a dog lick me. I have OCD especially to a very severe degree at one point. And I was happy with Leah because she didn't like to lick human skin. She might lick a pillow. She might lick a pillow, but she did not lick people. Right? I don't think even dogs, for that matter, animals for that matter, I don't really know, but only herself. And letting Lucky lick me, like, he got me on the mouth twice. And I learned, well, it did not kill me. So I'm not as big of a deal about it, which I would not have done a year or two ago. So I think in some ways having Lucky there, along with Leah, kind of helped me a little bit. So, I mean, these dogs, in their own little way, have helped me with my anxiety. I mean, that whole hour and a half to 2 hours I was dealing with them, of course I was getting stressed. Because they were being completely unbearable at that time. Like, I mean, like, it was ridiculous how bad it was. But I didn't have as much pain during those situations. I was kept busy. They kept me busy for almost 2 hours of the time my aunt was gone. So, you could argue, well, why didn't you stay? I think if I had stayed, my stomach would have went from, oh, it's not a big deal, to, because it was starting, right? When I was breaking down a lot. It was, and as I said, I love them, but I would not want another real second dog or kids anytime soon. I mean, I'll get used to taking care of them and taking care of my stomach. Like, it'll happen eventually. It's something I don't want to deal with again for a while. Maybe if I keep myself calm and not pay as much attention to them, which, again, people would argue, oh, no, pay attention to the dogs. Well, maybe it won't be as bad of a big deal. So anyway, guys, if you like this change of scenery, give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, like what you see, please subscribe and help this channel a lot. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so you'll know when new videos are coming out. And I will see you guys in my next video.